It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. I'll give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn and all of their properties. If you got to travel someplace and you need to stay at a hotel, make sure you stay at a Holiday Inn property. My favorites, of course, the Holiday Inn Resorts and Holiday Inn Express. Now, I'll give you another reason to stay at a Holiday Inn property, because we'll get you a discount. That's right, you can get a Billy C discount. Just call our toll-free number, 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364, or you could just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Holiday Inn banner. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Men on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. And I was a little pissed off. You know, they had that Bare-knuckle event, and one of the announcers was, I just saw a couple of clips of it, and the announcing, which was terrible, by the way, started saying about, this is a history, Bare-knuckle, like the great ones, John L. Sullivan, and they even mentioned Tom Cribb, but they didn't mention my man Molyneux. Arguably one of the best of his era, and should be down in the history books as the first American the first American heavyweight champ, and really the first world heavyweight champion 100 years before the first black world champion in Jack Johnson. But truth be told, Tom Molyneux was the first heavyweight champion, world heavyweight champion. He was robbed. Read my book, you'll find out. But anyway, coming up a little bit later on this show, we got Dax Khan is scheduled to join us. I got a bunch of emails. Not much took place this weekend in the boxing arena, but I have some heavyweight results. I'd like to keep everybody up to date on that. I have something I want to talk about concerning Tyson Fury. I was vocal about Deontay Wilder saying he was the best ever, et cetera, et cetera. Well, truth be told, Tyson Fury thinks he's the best ever in the heavyweight division, claims he's Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather rolled up in one. I don't know why he mentioned Floyd Mayweather, maybe just because some of the youths of today might relate. But I have a bunch of quotes from him, and I'll get to the facts in a little bit later on the show. Bottom line is Tyson Fury is just full of can't say that word today. But the other thing I want to mention is Billy Joe Saunders officially pulled out of his fight, which was scheduled for June 23rd against Martin Murray, once again claiming he had an injury, and the type of injury you really can't check, and that's a hamstring injury. A lot of people think that it's a BS story because he's been contacted by either or both Triple G and Canelo. So we'll talk about that. But first, joining me right now from St. Simon's Island in Georgia is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. Sal, we got some heavyweight fights I just want to get everybody caught up with. But first, let's talk real quickly about the potential fight that may be getting groomed with Billy Joe Saunders either fighting Triple G or Canelo. He pulled out of his fight. Was announced it yesterday. He was scheduled to fight Martin Murray on June 23rd. What's your thoughts? This is the second injury. Remember, this fight had been postponed once before.
That's true. And I'll tell you what, like I said, the jury's going to be a little bit out on Billy Joe Saunders for just a while till we see him go into do a camp and see who he's going to actually fight between Canelo and Triple G. I was very impressed the night that Billy Joe Saunders dismantled and totally dominated the one-dimensional fighter David Lemieux. And I like Lemieux. Love his punching power. Loved how he has won some big fights in the past, but he was totally nullified. He couldn't do anything. He never got on track against Billy Joe Saunders. Now, was that Billy Joe Saunders rising to the occasion for the one time that we saw him against a one-dimensional fighter? Or is that a Billy Joe Saunders potential who could reveal when he's tested to the level of competition he has to fight? So I think, and if he's going to fight either Canelo or Triple G, I think he'll have an easier time with Canelo because Canelo is not Mr. Fancy Toes and dancing and moving and everything else. He's more, as we say, plodding, and he's there to hit. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I would like to see Billy Joe Saunders back in the ring against a formidable opponent, and you definitely have that quality in a Triple G or Canelo Alvarez.
Obviously, from a financial standpoint, Billy Joe Saunders could make a lot more money fighting either Triple G or Canelo versus Martin Murray. Unfortunately, this sport gives fighters the flexibility to bail on one and pursue another better opportunity. I'm not saying it's right, but it's definitely possible. How are you going to double check to make sure a hamstring is actually pulled? I mean, there's so many different degrees of a hamstring pull, and the minute ones which would still, limit your ability to throw effective punches, etc., wouldn't even show up in an X-ray or a CAT scan. So it is what it is. I'm assuming, and you know what they say about assuming, Sal, but I'm assuming that, Golden Boy reached out to Billy Joe Saunders already because of the hardline stance that the stocking-wearing Oscar De La Hoya has put out there on social media about him refusing to give Triple G a 50-50 split. I think that, unfortunately for Martin Murray, that it was inevitable, especially in lieu of what was going on with Triple G and Canelo, that Billy Joe Saunders was going to be the hot ticket for either of those fighters. And quite honestly, Martin Murray became the odd man out. And as far as who Saunders would be better off fighting, could he make more money fighting Canelo? Possibly, but he would have to come over to the U.S. to do it, specifically Las Vegas in September. I think that he's probably better off fighting Triple G at home, where he could make, I would think, the same money based on a live gate. What's your thoughts? What would make more financial sense for Billy Joe Saunders to fight Triple G or Canelo, and which one do you think it'll be?
Jeez. I'll tell you, I'm going to put my Nostradamus hat on right now. But that's a hard call because, we're still in the process of what they use this term, ebb and flow of the negotiations. And, are we going to see a Triple G Canelo Alvarez fight? And are they going to make that deal happen? I know that Canelo Alvarez, I'm going to tell you right now, and I like Canelo. I liked him and more before this whole incident. But I'm telling you what, from Canelo Alvarez's standpoint and his promoter, Canelo Alvarez is afraid to fight Triple G. I'm telling you, he knows. What I said to you, Billy, earlier on, off air. First of all, if Canelo Alvarez was eating tainted beef from calves or cows, from burgers, okay, that's one thing. But let's say he's been on a steady diet of looking how to get past and doing this, not just for this fight, but maybe one or two other fights previous or prior. Now all of a sudden he's going to be all eyes on Canelo Alvarez. He's not going to have that secret little pill. And that does something psychologically to a fighter, knowing that, well, you know what, he used this in the past, he's not going to have this in the future, or he'll have to get caught or do something else prior to the fight to mask it. But the bottom line is, I think that's going to work on his psyche and his confidence. So I think there's a multitude of reasons why he doesn't feel he wants to, or why he doesn't want to fight Triple G. And just his outrageous comments as far as giving Triple G 30% or 35%, whatever it might be, ridiculous statement. That's an insult to injury. That's proven right there he doesn't want to fight Triple G. Because, it should be a 50-50 fight to begin with, or 60-40, either one way or the other, depending on who can make the case of why they deserve more than the other. And so the bottom line is Triple G and Canelo Alvarez may or may not happen, and I'll be sad. But we already lost the opportunity for it to happen. Canelo Alvarez was at fault, not anybody else who he pointed at. So if he was to fight Billy Joe Saunders, I think Billy Joe Saunders, like I said, Bill, I want to see Billy Joe Saunders again, because the Billy Joe Saunders I saw against David Lemieux that night was somebody I did not expect to see. And that fighter who fought that night could have beat a lot of guys in the middleweight division.
First of all, I hope that Triple G stands strong and demands a 50-50 split from Canelo. And if not, if I'm Triple G, I go to other pastures. That's the end of that. Sometimes you got to be willing to walk away, and I think that Triple G is in that spot. As far as Billy Joe Saunders is concerned, with fighting Triple G or Canelo, unlike you, I think, I don't think that Billy Joe Saunders can beat either Canelo or Triple G. I would, don't get me wrong, I would love to see a good fight with him and have him surprise me. But I think Triple G will cut the ring off, unlike David Lemieux was able to. Triple G will cut the ring off and control the fight. And as far as Canelo, I do think that Billy Joe Saunders has a better opportunity with Canelo, even though Canelo's younger. The issue that Canelo has, and I've said it a million times, and which was the main reason Floyd was so quick to jump in the ring, because Floyd saw it too, is the fact that Canelo cannot land effective punches while he's in motion, which is, not easy to do. I mean, we know that, but all the greats are able to do that. And Billy Joe Saunders showed movement against Lemieux. Granted, Lemieux was stationary. So if Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders are both moving around, Billy Joe Saunders did demonstrate that he could land effective punches while he was moving. So I actually think that the fight with Canelo would be a winnable fight for Billy Joe Saunders. I'm not saying he would beat him. I just said that both fighters... No,
I think it's a winnable fight, like you said.
Yeah, it's winnable. I would pick both Triple G or Canelo over Billy Joe Saunders. But if I'm Billy Joe Saunders and his team, I go for Triple G at home, because then at least that you're going to get some favorable or fair judging and refereeing. He will not get favorable or fair refereeing or judging when he fights Canelo. It does not happen with the stocking-wearing Oscar De La Hoya. So, no.
I mean, that should be one of the conditions he should insist on. Have a neutral referee, have one from his country, one from Canelo's country, and you know,
that doesn't
that's
help.
the way you should do it.
It wouldn't help. When Oscar De La Hoya is involved, at least, you know, the way it seems of late, he's going to have a plant judge. He'll have a plant ref. No. But in any event, we'll keep everyone posted on that. Let's get to the fights this weekend. The only fights I'm even going to talk about, to be honest with you, are the heavyweight fights that took place. And it wasn't a heck of a lot of them. It was a real slow week, although this week coming up, we do have some exciting fights that we'll get to talk about as the week progresses. We will not be doing a live show on Friday again. But we will be here the rest of the week, so we got a lot of time to talk about some of the big fights that are scheduled for this week. But first, the heavyweight picture on Saturday in Belgium, Roberto Sikola improved to 9 wins and 1 draw when he knocked out Georgi Tamashvili in the first round of a scheduled 6-round fight. Tamashvili drops to 5-4. In Germany, Alban Pavizia improved to 9-0 when he stopped Andreas Consimore in the first round of a scheduled 6-round fight. Consimore drops to 18 wins, 21 losses, and 2 draws. In Poland, Lucas Razanansky improved to 9-0 when he stopped Michael Sproat, a longtime vet out of England. In the second round of a scheduled 6-round fight, Michael Sproat drops to 42 wins and 29 losses. Rosansky looks like a guy to keep an eye on. Michael Sproat's a tough guy. Despite having 29 losses, if Rosansky beat this guy in his 9th professional fight, there's a guy out of Poland to keep an eye on, Lucas Rosansky. Also in Poland, Oleg Shuk improved to 2-0 when he won a 4-round split decision over Pyotr Gruchula, who was making his pro debut. Gruchula drops to 0-1. Out of Connecticut at the Foxwoods Casino, Robert Sims improved to 7-2 when he won a 6-round unanimous decision over Joe Cusimano, who dropped only the second fight in his career. He goes to 15-2. This was an upset of sorts, as well as this other fight that took place on Friday in Atlantic City. Qwan Davis improved to 5-0 with a couple of draws when he won an 8-round split decision over Daniel Pasicola. No relation to Senecola, but Daniel Pasicola dropped to 9 wins, 4 losses, and 3 draws. That's it, Sal. That's basically what took place. There was a couple of other fights, but no sense. I wanted to move on. I got a lot of emails to read today. We got Dax Khan coming up in a little while, but what do you think? How do you think this heavyweight spotlight that we've been doing is progressing? We are hearing a lot of names that we probably will never hear again. We are probably hearing a lot of names that I'm pronouncing incorrectly, so we may definitely never hear those names again. But to give us an idea of what's in the heavyweight picture as fighters are coming up, I kind of am interested in it. I hope everyone else is. What's your thoughts?
It's neat. It's good. I'll tell you, when you're looking at some of these guys, I think maybe 5 fights and on would be something more likely to hear of a repeat fighter if he's got at least a decent record at 5 or 6 fights, maybe 10 fights. It's fine because we're gonna there's a million fighters coming on the scene. Maybe not a million, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just being funny with the numbers. But the heavyweights, yeah, all eyes are on heavyweights. But I don't think we're going to hear half the names that you're mentioning later on as it tightens up and as they get on with their careers. Some will not sustain a career after 10 fights. Some of them will, and those will be the ones that will recall their names. So it's good. I think it's a nice way to feed the future as far as the heavyweight division.
I want to thank. We got a couple of super chats, so I want to give a shout out to my man Joe Olson. Appreciate it. Without guys like you, Joe, we can't move forward. So I want to give a shout out to Joe Olson, and I got another super chat from Joel, who says, I hope you guys are having a show tomorrow because it's my birthday. Yeah, Joe, we are. We are going to have a show tomorrow for your birthday. So,
happy birthday to me.
Let's wait till tomorrow. We'll wish him a happy birthday on his birthday. With that said, we're going to take a short break. When I come back, Tyson Fury says he's Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather rolled into one. He's got a lot to say. I got some quotes. I got a bunch of stuff. He is so full of shh.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And before we went to break, we were talking about Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury says, Charlie says, "Love my good and plenty." Oh no, that's a different one.
I love that shaking that back.
Yeah. Those were the days. Those were the days. But Tyson Fury says that he's Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather rolled into one.
Wow, that's pretty
even
good.
though he hasn't, even though he hasn't fought in well over 2.5 years, closer to 3. He said, and I quote, I got a couple of long-winded quotes from Tyson Fury. He says, "I am the greatest heavyweight of all time. I've not got to be modest." Basically he's saying, I don't have to be modest. "I am the best ever. Me, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, the one and only. When has there ever been someone like me? There have been plenty of come-forward aggressors. There have been plenty of boxers off the back foot. But when was there ever been a 6'9" switch hitter with the confidence of Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather rolled into one? There has never, ever been anyone like me. I'm unbeaten. I'm fast. I'm brash. I'm young. I'm good-looking. I'm tanned. I've even got white teeth. What more could I have? I'm a fighter. I'm a boxer. I'm a sportsman. I'm a showman. I'm the greatest of my time. This is my era. I've already beaten the linear champion. I've already beaten the legendary champion, Vladimir Klitschko. And guess what? I did it easy. It was an easy fight. So put me in the ring with these bums, and I'll tell you how to put them down. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy." He goes on to say, "You have the linear champion, the real Mac, who has been in exile for nearly 3 years, just like Ali was. Then you have all these other guys who have done their thing in the meantime. But once I come back, I'm back, and I'll take over again, just like Ali did. Nobody gave him a chance, and I'm sure all the journalists and boxing pundits around the world are saying I can't do it either." He says, "I shocked y'all the first time, and I'm going to shock everyone a second time because the way I see it, I'm the best. I'm the best there is going to be, and I don't believe there's a man born yet who can beat me. You haven't seen what I can do yet because I haven't had an opponent take me to that level. The better opponent you put in front of me, the better I will become. I've got a massive opportunity to go down as one of the best heavyweights of all times. I have the dance partners to achieve that with Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and whoever else they put in front of me. That's why. That's when they will look at me. That's when they look at me, these guys will look like bums. I can't sleep at night thinking about these bums all the time. I'm thinking about putting my fist through the side of AJ's jaw. I'm thinking about knocking Wilder's spark out, all 15 stone of them. I'm putting them upside down on a heap in the floor. And if there are any cruiserweights out there, light heavyweights, or even middleweights that want to move up, I'll give them a good hiding too. Triple G, Andre Ward, whoever they are, move up to heavyweight, and I'll sort them all out." You know, listen. The one thing we got to keep in perspective is Tyson Fury is a comedian. If you all out there have seen his fights, you've seen him try to sing. He's done all kinds of stuff. A lot of this,
he's an entertainer.
A lot of this is him just trying to ruffle some tail feathers. But when we look at it from a realistic point, this guy he is so full of that you can't even begin to put him on. I don't even know if you could put him on the same level of Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, to be honest with you. When I look at Tyson Fury's resume, Sal, is he undefeated? Yeah. He's 25-0 with 18 knockouts. He doesn't seem to have the power that he should from a 6'9" guy. He had a great jab, but he used to deliver it because he was so used to fighting smaller guys. He was delivering it almost in an upward motion from his hip. He's corrected that, but he's kind of, when you look at Deontay Wilder and you see that tall, lanky professional basketball player frame, you also got to understand that he's athletic. Deontay Wilder, even though he throws punches and he's unorthodox and like a drunken octopus, like we've said, he's at least an athletic guy. And so is Anthony Joshua, another athletic guy. Lennox Lewis was an athletic guy. Klitschko was an athletic guy. Tyson Fury, not so much. The way he moves is like he's too big for his body. And when you look at his resume, really, the only name on it is Klitschko. And that was his last fight that took place in November of 2015. Look at the guys he fought. He fought Joey Abel, Derek Chisora, Vinny Matalone, Martin Rogan, Nevin Pykick. These are all just tough. They're like barroom brawlers. They're club fighters. Martin Rogan was actually a taxi cab driver. That was a tough man. He fought Steve Cunningham, who was a cruiserweight. He fought Kevin Johnson, who didn't even put up any kind of a offensive fight. He just was trying to survive. He fought Christian Hammer in the fight prior to Klitschko. Hammer's a bum. He was a bum. I mean, Tyson Fury, realistically, has not fought anyone of note, Sal. And then to make these statements, look at who he's getting back in the ring with. I mean, we understand that he wasn't going to go challenge Deontay or AJ in his first fight back. But a guy who's saying he's the best fighter since Muhammad Ali in the heavyweight division is fighting a guy who's a 39-year-old cruiserweight, and he's not even a big cruiserweight. He's 5'11" in Sefer Safiri. He weighs between 197 and 200 pounds. His biggest weight was 212 against Manuel Charr, in which he lost. So, I mean, come on, man. What's your thoughts about all this rhetoric?
Well, you just said it. I couldn't help but I always go back to the Godfather movie, and I love the quote. Michael Wilfredo saying, "Well, you're telling me all the right answers, but none of the ones I want to hear." What he's spewing and what he's saying is great for his own marketing purposes. But the bottom line is, can he back it up? I don't think he can. And Tyson Fury, unlike you, I've never really been a big fan of his.
No, I have been a big fan, though.
I know. That's why I said unlike you. And I commend you for hey, that's fine. That's great. I just think he's been, as you suggested, he hasn't really fought too many people that have been of note. And I think if he was to step in the ring with a Deontay Wilder, I'm sorry, not that I'm a big Deontay Wilder fan, but I am. I see one of those overhand chopping right hands landing right on his temple and putting the big guy to sleep like the Jolly Green Giant. So the bottom line is, Tyson Fury, welcome back. I wish you luck. I wish you would put your money where your mouth is and put your fist in the ring with the kind of fighters you say you will be facing, and we'll see what happens, because bottom line is you could do the talk, but can you do the walk? So we'll see what happens.
That's the big difference. Everyone always says to me, because I get riled up when I hear these guys talk smack like this. And the reason why is because they don't back it up. David Hay was classic when I'm going to do this. Wait, get Klitschko in the ring. I'm going to do this, and then he runs like a chump for the whole fight. Then he puts his foot up on the. I mean, I just can't stand when these guys talk all this smack and don't even try to back it up. I don't mind smack talk. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind it. I think it's entertaining. I think it's entertaining, but I want fighters to try to back it up. If they try and they can't, well, then, hey, give him an A for effort. But Tyson Fury he's not going to back this up. He's certainly not backing it up, calling the top two heavyweights bums. I get it that he's just trying to get recognition. But why does it work? Why do people actually listen to it? The truth of the matter is it's not going to sell more tickets. It's not going to gain any more respect for the bum that he's fighting. I would have rather have had him fight a Michael Sproat in his comeback, a big, real heavyweight, than a small guy that has a good-looking record. I mean, that's why he's doing this. And, to mention Ali, Muhammad Ali, whether you liked him or not, and there were times I loved him and there were times I did not love him. But the truth of the matter with Muhammad Ali is he backed up everything he said. He made outrageous predictions and made them come true. He was a showman and sold tickets. Now people copy him and then they throw that. Well, Ali did it. Why don't you give Ali any problem? Why can't this one say it and that one say it? Because they're not Ali. And they don't perform like Ali. Just because you say it, just because someone else said it and you're copying it, doesn't give you the right to say it. If you're going to say something, back it up. Tyson Fury has yet to back anything up, and his resume doesn't speak for it either. A lot of times you could look at a fighter and say, hey, look at their resume. It speaks for itself. You could look at fighters and look at their resume, and it'll tell the story. You know, when as much as I don't like him as a promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, his resume tells the story. He didn't back down from anybody. He didn't fight anyone. That's one of the biggest reasons I don't give Floyd Mayweather much respect, because he handpicked and cherry-picked all of his opponents for the last decade. Now, you could look at those guys and say, oh, well, this guy was good, that one was good. Sure. On paper, it all looks good. But the truth is the truth. And Tyson Fury is the same. So I don't know. I don't see it. And I don't appreciate when a guy is saying that stuff. In his mind, he's being funny. And in his fans' minds, they all think it's humor. It's comedy. But I don't know. At Deontay Wilder and AJ's expense, and I'll tell you right here, Sal, I think that AJ and Deontay both beat Tyson Fury, even though I was a fan. And not only do they both beat him, they both knock him out. How about that?
Yeah, I agree. Bingo. I'm with you on the same page.
You know,
definitely.
But anyway, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got a bunch of emails we're going to read. So you're not going to want to miss these. We got several, actually, going all the way back to Friday. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And my man Jason's in one of the chat rooms, and I think he misunderstood me. There's no way that I said that Floyd Mayweather and Tyson Fury fought the same level of opposition. What I meant was that Floyd cherry-picked his opponents for the last decade, but even so, all of those were definitely better than Tyson Fury fought. Tyson Fury is like Herman Munster in there. And listen, I like Tyson Fury. This isn't coming from a guy that's just, ragging on someone I don't like. I like him. But when I look at the other two guys, right now I look at a two-headed heavyweight division. And one head is Anthony Joshua and the other head is Deontay Wilder. And, I can't see Tyson Fury beating either one of those. Now, is there a young one coming up like, Dubois, Daniel Dubois? I mean, is he possibly a guy that could dethrone one of these two or both? Maybe. Even Joseph Parker, as he gets a little better, maybe. But as far as Tyson Fury, no. Tyson Fury doesn't pack enough power. His movement is it's uncoordinated. He's not a coordinated guy, Sal, and I just can't see him beating either one of those two. I can't, even though he seems to have a lot of support. A lot of people love him. And I'm a fan of his too. But I don't like when people, it would have been different if he said this even after he fights this, 150-year-old cruiserweight he's fighting in pretty soon. Even if he said this stuff after he beats the crap out of him, it's more acceptable. But he's talking this smack. He hasn't been in the ring for almost 3 years.
Nah, forget about it. I know. And you know what? He could spew all he wants after he gets back in the ring. And let's see him dismantle or try to do what he can do against a formidable opponent that we can all recognize. That would give him some credibility. That's the whole thing.
There's guys that are disagreeing with me, saying that he does have coordination and everything. He doesn't. Listen, not to get into physical defects or anything like that, but when you see him stand, he's the opposite of pigeon-toed. So instead of his feet going in, they're going out. They're going out like a friggin' penguin, all right? And and the truth of the matter is he's not fluid on his feet. He doesn't bounce on his toes or anything like that. He's an uncoordinated guy. It's like when you see a kid, when you see a young kid that's 10, 12 years old and he's already man size, he's 6 foot tall and stuff. That's not, in most cases, there are some cases where they're athletic superstars, but in a lot of cases they're not. We used to call them baby Hueys, but today you can't say that because they might go home and hang themselves because, they can't take the criticism, but not that you should pick on anyone. I'm not suggesting that.
No, let's be more sensitive. Let's be sensitive.
I know, of course, people take, let me move on because obviously I'm digging a hole here, but
let's not even go down that road, man.
Yeah, but all right, my first email, this is from Johnston. He says he has a Eddie Hearn update. He says, hey, Billy, not sure if you've heard this yet, but rumors circulated a few days ago that Team Povetkin has threatened to call purse bids for the Anthony Joshua fight to take place in Russia. Well, this seems to have been true with the WBA now issuing another deadline. First of all, Johnson, let me just straighten you out for a sec. A purse bid would give the opportunity to anyone to bid on housing the fight. we all could agree that most likely it would end up in Russia. But that doesn't mean that we're going to take purse bids for the fight to be held in Russia. No, it means we'll take purse bids for anybody. The high guy wins, and they decide where the fight's going to be. So that's the facts. But anyway, he says Eddie Hearn responded with this statement last week. He says, we got a situation with Povetkin where we're probably going to have to get purse bids, according to the WBA, this week. He says it'll take another couple of weeks to get it all signed, sealed, and delivered. He says realistically, that's the absolute deadline. So he's talking about this week and the end of next week to be the deadline. He says we're speaking frequently to Team Wilder, and Deontay understands the situation. It's not like he's moaning about it. He's always felt that he'd have to come to the UK, and like I said before, they've made a strong offer. He's referring to Team Wilder. He says some of the points or some of the clauses in the offer weren't acceptable, but some were. We could have talked about them, but it was just a decision from the team that the first fight will take place in the UK. We want to go in September, and that's either going to be, most likely at this stage, against Wilder or Povetkin. Both are tough fights. By the end of this week, I want to be in a position to know if Wilder truly wants this fight. I'm guessing Wilder will stall and AJ will indeed fight Povetkin. I've said this all along, Sal. I believe that Wilder fueled a little of the fire because from what I had heard several weeks ago that his fight with Dominic Breazeale was already signed, sealed, and delivered. Not that he couldn't have gotten out of it, but it makes more sense. And I got news for you. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. I think that both of these fights, the potential fight with Anthony Joshua against Alexander Povetkin, and even though he's slow, the fight with Dominic Breazeale against Deontay Wilder are both extremely tough fights for each of these guys. Breazeale has a granite chin, and he's got pop. He's slow, but if Deontay can't knock him out quickly, it's going to pose some trouble for him. And AJ has trouble with smaller guys. They're not easy fights, either one of them. I'm telling you. I know we want to see them fight each other, Sal, but they're not easy fights. They're not easy.
No. I agree with you. It should be, but I do see Deontay Wilder probably taking care of Breazeale within 5 rounds. It's a tough fight, and Breazeale can punch, and we'll see. It could be a good, entertaining fight for a couple of rounds. But I just see Deontay Wilder totally catching him when he's not ready, and bam, he'll be out.
Next email, this one's from my man Joel. He says, hey, Billy C, with a quiet weekend in boxing, I had a chance to watch the Bare-knuckle Fighting Championships from Wyoming on Saturday night. I thoroughly enjoyed it. One fight looked fixed, and the majority of the fighters were former or faded out MMA veterans with a couple of boxers and a few kickboxers thrown in. Bobby Gunn's fight looked very fixed, almost like he threw this Brazilian guy who's a pro boxer and hasn't fought since 2016 some money just to come and lose. Bobby Gunn threw a few body shots, sending the big guy down. He rose up. Bobby Gunn threw what looked like a left hook that grazed off of the Brazilian's forearm as he blocked it, and he went down and had trouble getting up. Otherwise, it was something I'd like to see again. The action moved fast, and there wasn't any singing and dancing after the fight. They went right to the next one. There was some bloody fights. I hope it's something they can do in the state of Wyoming again if they're willing to continue. I did see some of it, and I did happen to watch the Bobby Gunn fight, and because I'm a good friend with Bobby Gunn. I mean, he's a tough guy, As far as Castro, the guy that he fought, did it look fixed? Well, I mean, Bobby Gunn did land a solid shot to the body, which looked like it hurt, but it also looked like he was, did not want to take that beating. I don't mind this bare-knuckle thing, Sal. As a matter of fact, I would like it. The announcers were terrible. My buddy Bill Clancy, who got me to promote some fights in the Carolinas over 10 years ago now. But he was refereeing. But I would like to see it with younger fighters, not guys that are just coming for the payday. It looked like that, but it may have been a good base. Did you catch any of it, or what's your thoughts on it?
No, I did not. I didn't see that at all. But I'll go on the internet and I'll look at it.
All right. Hey, that's a good. You may not want to waste your time.
I'm just so into boxing, and even though bare knuckles, I would welcome bare knuckles before MMA, and I'm sorry to say that.
Of course, because it's stand up. You're not allowed to. I don't mind the bare. Let me tell you, somebody's got
a throwback to the John L. Sullivan,
Tom Molyneux days. But let me tell you, some of these guys that seemingly were on the receiving end of a bare knuckle punch, the looks on their faces. We're like, whoa, it's not easy. Let's just say that. But got another email.
Punch like that was when me and Julio were hanging out by the schoolyard.
Yeah, we got a couple of emails here from my man Mitch. He says, the way Trinidad illegally wrapped his hands for Vargas and William Joppy and everyone before and after the Hopkins is the same way the Nevada State Athletic Commission allowed Canelo Alvarez to wrap his hands against Triple G. You can't go tape, gauze, tape, gauze. It has to be gauze, tape, gauze, tape. He says a testament to how solid a chin Triple G has. Alvarez could knock him out like Trinidad did his foes, but after taking those big shots, your chin is never the same, even if you don't get knocked out. Hopefully Triple G's chin will have stood intact. I thought Martirosyan stunned him a bit before he came to stop him. That was worrisome for me. Abel Sanchez complained about it big time, but nobody made a deal of it. Before I go on to the next points that my man Mitch has, this is why there has to be some changes with Nevada. Although, New York and New Jersey and California are all trying to be the mecca of boxing. Again, I know when you hear that term, a lot of people immediately think of Madison Square Garden, which used to be. But Nevada, specifically Las Vegas, had turned into the place for boxing. But it's slipping. Fighters don't get a fair shake there. The commission is biased. We saw that with that gutless, spineless piece of garbage, Bob Bennett, approving the fight for Floyd Mayweather against pro debut, 49-0 Mayweather against a pro debut Conor McGregor, but yet does not approve Triple G against the kid who just won the title against Saddam Ali. So, and he was 25. He had 25 knockouts. Maybe he was 28-0, 27-0 with 25 knockouts, or one loss he had. And that guy wasn't good enough to fight Triple G. But yet Conor McGregor, pro debut, never boxed before, was good enough to fight future Hall of Famer Floyd Mayweather. So, something has to be done with Nevada. They're going to get somebody killed out there. Anyway, Mitch goes on to say, so Billy Joe Saunders ran the Khan game a second time on poor Martin Murray. This was speculation the first time, but then he pulled out for a reason this time. That reason has to be Triple G or Canelo, right? Popular belief has it that he'd rather fight Alvarez because Alvarez doesn't have the power Triple G has, and by the offer that Golden Boy most likely will be more than Triple G could submit. He says, but I'm going against popular belief on this one. I think he's going to take Triple G over Alvarez because the live gate in the UK will make sure he and Triple G get paid no matter how many viewers turn in. And I think that they'll do well pay-per-view personally. He says if it's a home game for him, and if he can get a friendly hometown ref like Adonis Stevenson and Gary Russell got, and a couple of friendly judges, Triple G might need a knockout over Billy Joe Saunders just to get a draw. And he says Triple G is an old man going on the road, whereas Alvarez is in his prime. And finally, he says, fighting Alvarez in Vegas, where he has the commission and judges on his side, he will lose. Even if he were to somehow outbox Alvarez, he can't get a win in Vegas against him without a knockout. Billy Joe Saunders is not a KO type of a fighter, so the odds are he will lose the fight. With that, he loses his belt, giving Alvarez leverage and setting up Triple G Alvarez for the belts in May of 2019. I'd bet the house that both sides are negotiating with Billy Joe Saunders, and it'll be interesting to see who wins. I agree with Mitch here, Sal. I think that the smarter fight for Billy Joe Saunders may not be the most money, but the smarter fight for Billy Joe Saunders would be to fight Triple G in the UK. What do you think?
Well, maybe the smarter fight for him would be that. I think that I think the easier fight for him would be Canelo Alvarez. Not saying that he will beat him, but I think it would be a good fight for him I think he could beat him. I'm not saying he's going to, but we'll see what happens. I think all in all, if that round robin of fighters, Canelo Alvarez, Triple G, and Billy Joe Saunders, I think it's a good mix to have some real good boxing to give us out of 2 or 3 fights, put them together.
Next email I have is from Coach, and Coach says, hey, Billy C, with today, June 4th being, I can't believe that we have all these days now. I mean, we have become, Billy C, with today's day, June 4th, being National No Pants Day, Bird Day, and Respect for Chickens Day, I find it hard to accept Canelo hiding behind Golden Boy Promotions and the WBC fabricated excuses and not giving us what the boxing finally has and surely deserves in a straight-up real fight with Triple G against Canelo in the rematch. I think that, and I agree, but you know what, Sal? I think that if Triple G doesn't fight Canelo now in September, that fight should never take place, because all it seems to be doing is lining up the stars for Canelo. What do you think?
I think you're right. I mean, Triple G is aging, and if they do meet in September, it's going to be a year since they last fought and each other, and I think that was one of the goals to have Canelo Alvarez achieve, and certainly if they wait till 2019, that's another half a year away for Triple G, and I think as I said, he's not a spring chicken, and he needs to keep busy and active, which is why he took the fight, by the way, in Cinco de Mayo on May 5th, because when a fighter is gearing up and has a date in mind, and he's training backwards from that date. You're mapping out your routine, your thing. So to break the continuity of that would have been a little bit more than what he should endure at this stage. Meaning he had to go through with that date. I understood why he was going through that date, because you do what you do. You take the date, you back how many weeks you're going to train and what you're going to do, and you focus your whole psyche, your mind, your mentality. So those were the things that he wanted to keep, and no matter what he had to do to keep that date, unlike Canelo Alvarez trying to keep the date with him. So I think it's important that he keeps active, and I think it's important that they do fight this year, preferably in September if they're going to fight, because if they do not fight this year, like I said, I really feel Canelo Alvarez and his camp would do what they can do to avoid Triple G for as long as they can, because I'll tell you what, Triple G, in my mind, and in my he won that first fight.
But let me ask you this. Yeah. That fight, and I agree with you, and most people, when you think of that fight, you think, well, I think Triple G won the first fight. But the fight itself wasn't anything special. I mean, it took half a fight to get started. The second half of the fight was better. Canelo was running most of it. He did win the final round. But, I mean, it wasn't like one of these. It wasn't a Hagler-Hearns type fight that we're drooling over. And the truth of the matter is that if they're truly looking, if Canelo is looking, or Golden Boy is looking to get Canelo the most money, which will give Oscar more money, the fight is Triple G. They're not going to make the same money with Billy Joe Saunders. They're not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But in any event, I got 2 more emails I want to get through before we get take a break and get Dax on. This one's from my man James. Haven't heard from him in a while. He says, "Hey Billy C, I know it's been a while since you talked about the Supreme Court's ruling, but I wanted to give my 2 cents anyway." He's talking about the sports betting. He says, during the 90s and early 2000s, Oregon's lottery ran a pro football betting pool. If you picked 3 games and won all 3 according to the spread, you got 5-1 on your money. 4 games, you earned 10-1, etc. My father and I usually won 1 or 2 4 picks per weekend. That pool paid for many of my college textbooks. Then Portland wanted to attract the pro soccer team, even though it's a completely different kind of football. Oregon had to give up the football pool before soccer would move to Portland. Since the latest ruling came down, Oregon's been abuzz with talk of bringing that pool back. I, for one, hope it happens. I could use the money. Speaking of bringing things back, are we going to get another Billy C challenge? Remember, I was your last monthly winner, and I have a title to defend. I love sports betting, and I hope every state gets it, James. And as far as the Billy C challenge, we had a lot of fun with that. It was a lot of work for yours truly, and I do promise to bring it back if things continue to progress the way I hope they do. So thanks for the email. One last email before we take a break here, and this is from my man Rick. He says, "Hey Billy C, what do you think of this YouTube clip of current fighters reacting to Jack Johnson's pardon? I actually agree with the idea that the pardon is 100 years too late and doesn't really mean anything, but I was surprised and disappointed that so many of the young fighters either didn't know who Jack Johnson was or what the pardon was all about. It's kind of shameful if you ask me." He says, "It also makes me appreciate Mike Tyson that much more. For all his questionable antics throughout his career, Mike was never too big to pay respects to the guys who came before him. I know this video is a small sample size, but I have a feeling you'll get similar reactions to any gym across the country." And he did send me a link, and it was Mayweather's gym. I mean, I know Rick's a big fan, but let me tell you something. I was shocked to hear some of the comments. I'm not even going to mention who, but the former world champion was there, and that these guys didn't know anything about Jack Johnson. The guys that even knew who Jack Johnson was, and it was a lot of young fighters that never even heard of who Jack Johnson was. But the guys that did know who Jack Johnson were didn't have the story or their facts right. You know the old saying, time heals all. That's sort of what's happened to poor Jack Johnson. And I think that the significance behind the pardoning should actually open up people's eyes to understand what actually took place with the whole arrest and jail to begin with. This guy should have never been arrested for that. He should have never had to go to jail after he was in exile. I mean, Jack Johnson brought a lot to this sport. I mean, forget about what he brought to racial situation, although you might make the argument that he actually caused more trouble for African Americans at that time because of the Jim Crow state America was in. However, what he brought to the sport of boxing, really, second to none. This guy was above and beyond the talent level of any other fighter during his era. And, the fact that they pardoned him now, I think that significance is huge. Sal, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think it's great because, it was something that was unjust, and it's corrected now, and I'm glad it was. And, the historians that do know and do recognize Jack Johnson as a great fighter as he was, this is something else that was needing to be corrected in the history books and everything else. I think that he can rest in peace right now, and it adds to his legacy and keeps his name out there and notoriety as far as. Let the young fighters look him up. Let the young fighters look at the history and the evolution of this game, and who were the leaders, who were the people that all eyes were on, and why has boxing grown and become such a great sport to begin with. It was the foundation of the fighters like the Jack Johnsons, like the old timers that just did what they had to do. It was a business then. It was just what they needed to do to make their name, make their money, and have a career for themselves and their families.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for all the emails. If you have a question, comment, concern, and you want to have it read online, live on the show, just drop me an email. If you take the time to write it, I'll take the time to read it. Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com. I think it's sad that fighters today don't know the history of this sport. And although maybe football players, American football players, basketball players, baseball players, maybe they're the same, Sal. Maybe if you ask, a young superstar athlete today, hey, you know the history of baseball, you know who this guy was, that guy was, and they don't know the stats. I mean, some baseball guys can spew out, who pitched the last no-hitter in the rain on a Saturday night. I mean, baseball is 150 years of nothing but stats, more than 150 years now. But when it comes to boxing, because of the nature of the sport, I think it's kind of a prereq to have fighters know a little bit of the history about the fighters who came before them and who molded the sport into what we see today. Now, Mike Tyson was an example of maybe a little too much. Mike Tyson is a historian when it comes to boxing, and I don't expect every single young fighter to know what Mike does. But I think that they should know who some of the all-time greats are. Jack Johnson, definitely everyone should know who he is. In my opinion, one of the greatest ever. So it is what it is. But we got to take a break. But go ahead, Sal. You got a point. I see you waving.
Well, the point was, I remember before I ever put on a pair of boxing gloves, and being a boxing somewhat historian at the young age of 8, 9, 10, the first fighters that I read about, that I looked at, that I respected, that I wanted to learn more about, was the trifecta that I read about, that I first learned. The first fighters that I ever recognized as fighters that I looked at from that evolutionary period was the great John L. Sullivan, the great gentleman Jim Corbett, and of course the inventor of the solar plexus. Solar punch is the solar plexus punch was the Bob Fitzsimmons. I mean, that's history right there for me. And then, yes, it progressed along the lineage of who fought who and who passed the heavyweight championship and who was there. And sure enough, Jack Johnson was in that legacy as well. So there is a great history of fighting and fighters. And, some of these, like I took for granted that everybody knew that, who was interested in having a career of fighting.
It's true. We got to take a break. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, Not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Joining us right now to tell us what he thinks of this whole Billy Joe Saunders, Triple G, Canelo saga is my man Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning, Dax.
I didn't know it was a saga, but okay.
It's a saga to me. It's a saga to me. What's your thoughts on it?
You know, Billy Joe Saunders, he takes, one step forward, he takes two steps back. Why? I don't understand. The first time it was the hand injury, and now it's the hamstring. Billy Joe Saunders is a guy that up until the David Lemieux fight really had a lot of criticism, and that fight, even though David Lemieux was an opponent that was given a lot of criticism, it really propelled him into the front of that middleweight division right behind Canelo and Triple G. Remember, after that fight, Billy Joe Saunders calls out Triple G, and then he is one of the first ones to criticize Triple G because Triple G does not take the challenge of Billy Joe Saunders and cancel his May 5th date and go on with this upcoming this June date that's now postponed again for the second time, stating how Triple G is ducking him. Triple G is not willing to fight the best competition. He's going on these social media rants and to anybody that are listening inside the regular media, and then now he goes and he pulls out on something like this, and but in the meantime, really, Martin Murray, while I like Martin Murray, he's always been, a solid fighter, he's really not even at this point in time, Martin Murray is not even a relevant middleweight. So I don't understand. I think a lot of it has to do with the talk, Bill, you mentioned Tyson Fury before. I think, if you can talk a good game, and with social media the way it is today, how one tweet, if you can get a lot of people out there talking about this one tweet, whether or not they're sharing it, whether they comment on it for the positive or for the negative, that can keep you into the limelight, and you can stay relevant without actually stepping to the ring to do anything relevant.
Yeah, but talking about the Tyson Fury situation, I know it's funny, and I know people look at it as being comical, and I agree with you. His name, we're talking about him, so he's in the discussion. But I mean, when do you just look at somebody and laugh, and then it's like the boy who cried wolf? Not that many young people that read anymore today, but the story of the boy who cried wolf, claiming that there's a wolf, and finally when it was there, no one believed him. And that's what happens with these fighters. A great example of that is David Haye. If David Haye turned out to be, a knockout, drag-out, great fighter in his next fight, nobody would believe him because he's pulled the BS all these other fights. And I think that that's what's happening with Tyson Fury. He's got to be careful. He should have just did what he had to do in his next fight and let it be.
Tyson Fury actually had that opportunity. Remember, Tyson Fury has pulled out of fights himself in the past. There were reasons why. And this is before he won the title. So Tyson Fury had that label on him. And when he defeated Klitschko, that kind of erased that. Maybe the win over Steve Cunningham when he made his appearance in the United States, that sort of erased that. But then, right after the Klitschko fight, you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and say maybe it was the frustration due to the IBF stripping him because he wanted to give a rematch immediately to Vladimir Klitschko instead of, I think it was Tsar Glazkov who was the mandatory at that time. Then we have the mental problems and the postponements, and he managed to stay well in the media. And then most recently, he credits Billy Joe Saunders last week in an interview for saying that Billy Joe Saunders is the guy that more or less lit a fire under his ass to get back into the ring and show, fans what he still has left. He's still a young man. He's lost a lot of weight. Now he's going in this weekend, whether, despite the opponent. And now all of a sudden, Billy Joe Saunders, just days afterwards, he pulls out of that fight. And again, Bill, I stress the fact that if you can get on social media, your promoter, your manager, somebody from your team can get on social media and they can talk and they can make the fans, talk and buzz around, you're going to stay relevant.
You mentioned the Steve USS Cunningham fight, and I can't help but remember how terrible that fight was. And it wasn't a blowout either. Tyson Fury should have blown Steve Cunningham out. There was a lot of leaning. Remember, he was leaning on him a lot. He never, with the exception of Vladimir Klitschko, he's never really backed up all his boasts. And then one other thing I want to bring up, we were just talking about Jack Johnson, right? Well, you just reminded me of something. You said, people are giving him credit about losing all that weight. He did lose a lot of weight. But remember, so did James Jeffries. When James Jeffries came back, he lost all that weight and he looked great. But there's something about putting on a few hundred extra pounds that makes you just not the same afterwards, guys. I mean, come on, right?
Well, of course, it's hard to lose, and if it's once or it's twice or it's water weight, yes, but after a while it takes your toll on you. Obviously, Ricky Hatton, there's always a perfect example of the most recent eras where Ricky fattened, and then you had Ricky Hatton, and Ricky'd blow up to 190 pounds in between fights, and then he would drop down and lose all that weight and come in at 140 pounds looking stellar, but eventually it caught up to him, and it dropped Ricky's punch resistance. We started seeing Ricky Hatton rely on that dreadful style of the 1-2 and hold. And Ricky was a young guy at that time, so definitely losing that weight takes its toll on a fighter. But on the other side, in a way, it becomes kind of interesting to see, okay, this guy has blown up to, 40 pounds overweight. He's had this long layoff. Let's see how he can do when he comes back. Will he be any good? And then he comes back, he puts on a sensational performance, and that kind of gives him a little bit of extra credibility, saying, you know what, he really is it doesn't matter what kind of shape he's in. This guy is able to stay in with anybody on the top. But, it becomes a joke after a while, especially when you're walking around lifting your shirt up at press conferences and slapping your stomach. That's something Billy Joe Saunders has done himself at times.
I loved when Ricky Hatton came out with the Fatty Hatton suit, remember? He came out, he had like a fat suit. But let me ask you this, getting back to the Billy Joe Saunders, Triple G, Canelo trifecta. Who do you think would make the most sense for Billy Joe Saunders? I mean, he does possess the one belt Triple G doesn't have. He's got some value in it because of that belt. I mean, we all know that Murata over in Japan has the regular belt, but for the WBA. But for all intent and purposes, Billy Joe Saunders is the guy with the last belt Triple G does not have. There are some good fights out there in the middleweight division with Daniel Jacobs and the middleweight Charlo brother. But really, it's these three guys. It's Canelo, it's Triple G, it's Billy Joe Saunders. Which fight, in your opinion, if Billy Joe Saunders got to make the choice, what fight would it be and where would it be?
In terms of revenue, the Canelo fight would be the most sensible if you're in a business standpoint.
But that's if he's only looking for money, though. You think that's what he's looking for?
I'm saying, and if that's what, by the way he's going about his business, Billy Joe Saunders doesn't seem to be looking for legacy. He can stay over in the UK and he can make a comfortable living. He can make, what a lot of us stars here make, fighting the Martin Murrays or the other guys of that level, because he's such a big draw. Remember, the UK fans, that's the difference between the United States and the United Kingdom. That's one of the things why I'm so pro saying that, the Joshua and Wilder fight should take place over in the United Kingdom first, so both guys can, make that maximum money and then have the rematch wherever else. Because, the UK, you're going to make that money. The fans are going to follow you as long as you're a UK fighter. And Billy Joe Saunders can make what he's going to make against Triple G, against any other, a guy in the top 20. If it's just about money, then Canelo would be the name. If he wants to go for a legacy, then, of course, it would be Triple G. And, if he wanted to just really throw a curveball into the works and he wanted to show that, he's looking to unify, he can really upset the apple cart by going over to Japan and fighting Murata.
Yeah, that's a good point. And he could make some decent money. But I think that the fight that makes the most financial sense for him would be to fight at home against Triple G. I know Triple G is a tough out, but fighting Canelo in Vegas is almost a guaranteed loss. I mean, it really is. It's unfortunate, but that's what has happened. I mean, what do you think?
I think that Billy Joe Saunders, because of his mobility, I think would probably make Canelo look pretty foolish. And Billy Joe Saunders does have a solid beard, and I don't think Canelo has the power to stop him. But yeah, in terms of money, though, Tyson Fury. The reason why I mentioned the Tyson Fury and Steve Cunningham fight is Tyson Fury, came to the United States and he put his face out there, and that raised his marketability. No, it wasn't a great fight, but the fact that the fans got to actually see this guy in the United States that they've only been reading about or they've only seen on YouTube clips, and they actually got to see him live and in person. That raised his marketability, and all of a sudden Tyson Fury went from, this unknown mid-level guy who was just, who talked a lot, to suddenly being, in the mix and fighting a guy like Steve Cunningham, irregardless of the fact Steve Cunningham was a cruiserweight who moved up, and Steve Cunningham a lot smaller. Steve Cunningham dropped him early on in that fight. It did wonders for Tyson Fury. The same way that Billy Joe Saunders, his marketability really raised up against when he went in and fought David Lemieux in Canada. So, that's my point where I'm saying that, Billy Joe Saunders coming to the United States and fighting Canelo in Las Vegas, that, that would do wonders for him. Even if he lost, that would do wonders for him, because Las Vegas, as you more or less lately you're very adamant about, is so known for this shading judging that, Las Vegas, Billy Joe Saunders, if it was somewhat close and he loses by that one Adelaide Bird type scorecard of 117, 111, all of a sudden Billy Joe Saunders would be the number 2 guy in the division, and Canelo's stock would actually drop, outside of the Golden Boy clones, the ones that are hand-fed and, the ones that really don't know the sport other than, what's told to them by a promoter or by social media.
Dax, I appreciate your thoughts, and hopefully we can get you back on later in the week. Thursday we're going to be doing our breakdowns and predictions on the big fights for this weekend, so hopefully we can get your thoughts on those as well.
Absolutely, and coming to the United States, Bill, that's, it's a worldwide sport, and that's what everybody's got to do.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah. Be good.
I mean, they got to go to wherever the people are going to show up to, So.
How do you get back on the ladder? You get back on the ladder like Joseph Parker does. He comes to the United States and he's going to fight Brian Jennings in August.
Hey, that's a good fight. Dax, we'll talk to you later in the week, brother.
All right.
That's Dax Khan. You can check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. One thing I wanted to mention real quickly right now is Antonio Tarver. Last week we were talking about Antonio Tarver coming back and that he was going to fight. Well, it's not happening. He was going to fight Travis Kaufman. He's 49 years old. The fight was supposed to take place in California, but apparently he wasn't able to get licensed. And this is the problem. A lot of commissions don't want to license a fighter who's over 40-something years old. And Antonio Tarver was 49. 49. And the reason why he's fighting, let's be real, all right? Antonio Tarver owes a lot of money. He got himself into some trouble, passing bad checks and owing casinos money and borrowing money from people. And his only way to really pay it back is to get in the ring and win some money in the ring. And, I feel bad for Antonio Tarver, even though I thought that he was one of the most overrated fighters ever to fight. I feel sorry for him because I think he's in a good example of why fighters need to make sure they have a plan B after their boxing career is over. And the saddest part of this story, Sal, is that Antonio Tarver was a great ringside analyst, and when he got popped for the steroids, and then when it came out about the thrown in jail for the bad checks, Showtime walked away from him. I mean, they abandoned him like you had one lifesaver on a boat and there was 90 people, sort of like the Titanic. But and here he's left with nothing. His son is boxing, but I don't know. So we'll see who Kaufman fights, but that is going to be on a Fox Sports fight on Sunday, next Sunday, with 3 fighters, heavyweights. So we'll see some heavyweights next week, Sal.
Absolutely, that sounds good.
We got today's trivia question, and it's a tough one. Now it's open to everyone except Coach. Oh boy! Because Coach already got this answer correct at one point. What did Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert both have in common? What did Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert have in common? If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. You'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, the same game that Alex Perpali uses when we do our Blast from the Past. So I'll read the question one more time. If you get it right, if you're the first one to get it right, by emailing me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. You'll win the prize. What did Jersey Joe Walcott and Mike Colbert both have in common? Good luck to everyone on that. On this day in boxing history, June 4th, in 1986, Buster Drayton wins a 15-round decision over Carlos Santos to win the IBF World Junior Middleweight title, and that took place in New Jersey. On this day in 1971, Jose Naples knocks out Billy Backus in the 4th round to win the World Welterweight title, and that took place in California. On this day in 1994, Ike Corte knocks out Cristanto España in the 11th round to win the WBA World Welterweight title, and that took place in France. It took place in France. On this day in 2005, Ricky Hatton knocks out Costa Tszyu in the 11th round to win the World Junior Welterweight title. It took place in Manchester, England. I loved that fight. I was a big fan of Costa Tszyu, and after that fight, there was no one I liked more than there's only one Ricky Hatton. But anyway, on this day in 1986, Bernardo Pinago wins a 15-round decision over Gabby Canizales to win the WBA World Bantamweight title. It took place in New Jersey.
And when you say 15 rounds.
Yeah, those were the days. And finally, on this day, June 4th, in 1908, Stanley Ketchel wins a 10-round decision over Billy Papke to retain his world middleweight title, and that took place at the Hippodrome in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A side note to this, both fighters weighed in at 3 p.m. on the day of the fight, Sal, and they both weighed 154 pounds. Talk about 15-round fights. How about same-day weigh-ins, right?
I like those two things. You want to see boxing become the sport it was once, or it once was? Let's return and reverse the clock and get the rules and implement them the way they once were.
That's easy for you to say. That's
That's
easy for you to spit out. But anyway, hey, listen, boys and girls, make sure that you tune in tomorrow. You know, it is Joel's birthday, one of our listeners, so we'll make sure we wish him a happy birthday. So remember that, Sal, in case I forget. But anyway, listen, make sure you guys, all of yous, tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.